Hello and welcome to the module number 8, lesson number 4, which is about special cases of handling or working with the frames. In this lesson, we are going to learn the concepts about introduction to HTML frames, frames usage and representation of a frame in a web page, HTML pages with different row and column frames, WebDriver.TargetLocator nested interface in the WebDriver interface, switch to method and the WebDriver.TargetLocator interface, frame method and the options to identifying a frame, working with frames, example using name or ID attributes, working with frames, example with index of frame in the web page, and finally change of frame structure and tag in the HTML file. So before going to handle a frame, we should learn what is a frame. So let us go through the introduction to HTML frames. A frame shows the physical division of a web page. HTML frames are used to divide your browser window into multiple sections where each section can load a separate HTML document. In other words, a frame is a web page which is embedded in another web page or an HTML document embedded inside another HTML document. The window is divided into different frames. In a similar way, the tables are organized into rows and columns. So what is the usage? The frame is often used to insert content from another source such as an advertisement into a web page. The iframe tag specifies an inline frame. Let us look at the frames usage and frames representation in a web page concept. HTML frames allow developers to present documents in multiple views, which may be independent windows or sub-windows. Multiple views offer developers a way to keep certain information visible while other views are scrolled or replaced. For example, within the same window, one frame might display a static banner, the second a navigation menu, the third the main document that can be scrolled through or replaced by navigating in the second frame. A page with frame is created by using the frame set tag or the iframe tag. All frame tags are nested with the frame set tag. In the following example, a page will display 3 frames, each loading different HTML pages. It goes like this: frame set columns equals to 25% start 25%, frame border equals to no, frame spacing equals to 0, border equals to 0. Then we have the frames with frame ID equals to left, source equal to frame underscore a.htm, the second frame src equal to frame underscore b.htm, the third frame name equals to right and source equal to frame underscore c.htm, and then we finally end the frame set tag. So this shows that we have a frame set under which we have 3 frames and each have a different source. So all the 3 frames will load 3 different pages. We can also see from the frame set tag that all the 3 frames we have defined occupy the space in the format of 25% for the first frame, 25% for the last frame, and the remaining for the second frame. All these frames can be viewed in the format of columns because we are defining the frame set with the columns. So in the web page, we will see 3 columns which will load 3 different web pages. We are also defining that there is no border between each frame and there is no spacing also between each frame. Now let us go through the HTML pages with the examples containing frames in different rows and columns. Here is the first example. This example contains an HTML page with 1 row and 2 column frames. If you look at the inspection of the page, you can see there is a frame set with the columns equals to 200 comma star with frame border equals to 0, border equals to 0. frame spacing equals to 0. Also we have two frames. Frame name equals to menu, frame name equals to content. Look at the next slide, which contains an HTML page with two row frames. When you look at the inspection of the page in the HTML, you see that the frame set is defined with rows equals to 200, star, and frame border equals to 0, border equals to 0, frame spacing equals to 0. Then we have the frames with the names. Frame name equals to menu, frame name equals to content. This is the row frame divided into 3 column frames. Now for the last row frame, we have frame name equals to footer. So from this we understand that whenever you are subdividing any frame again into subframes or the main page into subframes, we must use a frame set tag. Let us now go through the concept of identifying and working on the frames in the WebDriver. So how do we identify the frames in WebDriver? Frames can be identified by an ID or through the name attribute. In the examples we are going to view next, we will identify and work with frames by using the driver.switchTo.frame method using the ID, name, instance of the web element and the index of a frame. How do we conclude that we have to use the frame method to go to the frame or identify the frame with the frame method? We have come to the conclusion of using the frame method through the WebDriver interface, which has a nested interface called the WebDriver.targetLocator. Look at the screenshot with the heading WebDriver.targetLocator nested interface in WebDriver, under which I am showing the nested class summary, which shows a static interface WebDriver.targetLocator. This target locator interface, which is under the WebDriver interface or which is nested inside the WebDriver interface, is used to locate a given frame or window. Look at the next slide with the heading switch2 method and WebDriver.targetLocator, where we can see there is a switch2 method under the WebDriver interface, which actually belongs to the WebDriver.targetLocator static interface. And also the description of the method shows that we can send the future commands if you use this method to a different frame or window. When we click on the WebDriver.targetLocator link against the switch2 method, we will move to a new page which shows the details of the interface WebDriver.targetLocator. Under this static interface WebDriver.targetLocator, we can see 3 methods which involve details of a frame. A frame method which takes a parameter called integer index, which is used to select a frame by the 0-based index. The next method of the frame which takes a name or ID as a parameter, which is used to select a frame by its name or ID. And a final frame method which takes a parameter as a web element, which is used to select a frame by using its previously located web element. Let us materialize these methods which we have seen with different examples and different code examples. Let us look at the first example where we are going to work with the frames using the name or ID attributes. In this example, the web page contains 2 column frames and the frames will be identified by the name and ID attributes as follow. We have the method public void test frame with ID or name, under which I am activating the frame on the left side using its ID attribute first. Driver.switch2.frame left. Here left is the ID of the left sided frame. Now we will get the element from the frame on the left hand side and verify its contents. I am using the statement web element left msg equals to driver.findElement by dot tag name p. This will get us the paragraph contained in the frame. Because I am storing that paragraph into the variable left msg, I want to check whether the text that is contained in that web element with the text that I am expecting it to be. This verification is happening using the statement assert equals this is left frame, comma, left msg dot get text, which means we are verifying two different strings using the assert equals method whether they are equal or not. So we are comparing the text, this is left frame, with the text that we are extracting from the paragraph. Once we are done with the comparison of the left frame text with the text that we are expecting, we are moving back the control from the frame to the main page by activating it using the statement driver.switch2.defaultContent. Now we are moving the control to the frame which is on the right hand side using the statement driver.switch2.frameWrite. Here we are using the name attribute of the frame and we are switching the control to the right hand sided frame. We are then getting an element from the frame on the right hand side and we are trying to verify its contents using the statements WebElement write msg equals to driver.findElement by dot tag name p, and whatever we are extracting from this web element, we are doing the assertion using assert equals this is right frame, comma, write msg dot get text. Finally, we are activating the main page by moving back the control using the statement driver.switch2.defaultContent. So this is how we handle a web page containing two frames, one on the left hand side and the other on the right hand side. We would be following a similar approach even if we would be handling a web page containing frames with different rows. That is because we will not be identifying the frames based on the row or column but by its name, ID or the indexes. Let us now go through another example where we are going to work with the frame using the index of the frame in the web page. This web page under discussion contains three column frames, left, middle and right frames. We have the method public void test frame by index, and in the first line of the method we are going to activate the frame in the middle using its index. Because the index starts with 0, we are going to switch to the frame 1 using the statement driver.switch2.frame of 1. This will take the control to the middle frame. Once the control is in the middle frame, I am extracting an element from the middle frame using driver.findElement by dot tag name p and assigning that one to the middle msg variable which is of web element type. Then I am asserting whether this text which is extracted from the middle msg web element is equal to the text called this frame doesn't have id or name using the statement assert equals this frame doesn't have id or name, comma, middle msg dot get text. Finally, we are moving the control back to the default page or the main page using the statement driver.switch2.defaultContent. Why should actually we move the control back to the main page which is same as the default content? This is because while we are working with multiple frames, when an operation is completed on one frame and the test flow needs to be moved to the other frame, calling the driver.switch2.frame method will not move the context to the desired frame again. The test will first need to activate the main document by calling driver.switch2.defaultContent, and only then activating the desired frame is possible. So till now we have seen how to handle different frames using their ID, name and index properties. Say if you don't have the ID or name for a frame, or if you don't know how many frames are there in a web page and you're not sure of the index, then we would be using the web element as a parameter for the frame to be identified. In such case, you can pass the parameter driver.findElement by dot some attribute of that frame into the frame method, which will be equivalent to the web element parameter. Till now we have seen how web pages are divided into frames and how to handle them. However, these days the frame structure is not being developed or used using the frame set and frames. With the event of HTML5 arriving, the frame structure is changed and we don't need to switch the control from the page to the frame and back to the frame, mostly because frame sets and frames are being rarely used. Let us look at an example where frame structuring is developed without using the frame set and frame. If you look at the slide which shows the heading change of frame structure and tag in HTML5, here we have frame on the top as the row, and we have a frame on the left hand side and a frame on the right hand side in the second row. When you inspect the HTML of the page, you would observe that there is no frame or frame set tag. However, there is something called a nav tag which is being used as a replacement for the frame set or the frame. So when we want to use elements from these frames, we don't need to switch the control to any part, but we can directly extract the detail that we want using the attributes of the element. So this is how we handle different frames on a web page which use a conventional method and which use the latest method.
Thank you.